This is weather forecast video for Sunday, May the 29th, 2011. Let's take a look at the satellite image from last evening. You can see some scattered clouds across the northern part of the country over the eastern Great Lakes, the Central Plains into the Rockies, and into the Pacific Northwest. That's with the storm system moving in our direction. Let's watch warning map from around 1 in the morning. You can see some wind advisories over the desert southwest, some winter weather advisories, and a winter storm watch over southwestern Montana, some flood issues over the Dakotas and Montana. The rest of the nation is quiet. Here's the severe weather outlook for today and tonight. A slight risk of severe weather includes the northern and eastern parts of the state. It also includes eastern South Dakota, southeastern North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and into the eastern Great Lakes, and a sliver of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas along the dry line. Here's the risk of possible tornadoes, a 5% likelihood across eastern Iowa into northern Illinois, northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and southern lower Michigan. The damaging wind outlook is highest over far eastern Iowa, mostly in northern Illinois into southern lower Michigan and northern Indiana. And the threat for large hail will be in pretty much the slight risk area along the dry line south of here and in the areas in northern and eastern Iowa. Here's the STP, significant tornado parameter, at 7 p.m. this evening. You can see the numbers are close to maxed out over the northern parts of the state, mainly north of Interstate 80 into eastern Nebraska. Here's the supercell parameter. The parameter is pretty maxed out north of Interstate 80 in northern Iowa into eastern Nebraska. And here's the significant severe weather outlook for the same time period, 7 p.m. this evening. You can see some fairly high numbers over the southern part of the state and into Nebraska and Kansas, so we should see some severe weather. Now here is the surface-based CAPE forecasted at 7 p.m. this evening, and you can see the southern part of the state will see CAPE values nearing 3, maybe even 4,000 joules. Here is the convective inhibition, or known as the capping layer, and this shows that there will be a capping layer, a fairly moderate one, so most of the day should be dry until the cap breaks. Now we head off to Monday, a slight risk of severe weather for Monday and Monday night for areas in northwestern Iowa. This is with a cold front moving in to the state. This includes areas like western Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, and into western Oklahoma. Here is the threat, and you can see a heightened threat area will be in western Minnesota, extreme northwest Iowa, into eastern South Dakota, eastern Nebraska, and into Kansas, where a 30 percentile area is included. Now, the QPF chart, precipitation over the next 5 days through Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. You can see with all this action taking place over the next few days, you can see the rainfall amounts of upwards of nearly 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rain possible. So let's take a look at it. This is the 0Z GFS Model Run at 1 p.m. today. You can see a trough over the northwestern part of the country with the southwesterly flow aloft. At the surface, you can see that front dangling across the strait. That could pop off a shower or storm, but as we showed you earlier, there will be a capping layer, so thunderstorms may be hard to develop. Monday will be very warm. The warm front will be way north of here. Low pressure over near Rapid City, so that will be where the storms will be. As we move off to Tuesday, you can see the Fort Max is moving northeast as this huge ridge is taking over the southern and southeastern parts of the country, and that's shifting that front and the low pressure system into Canada, and the front will be coming through Tuesday in a weakening state, so any severe weather that will be in the western part of the state will likely not be by the time it gets into central and eastern Iowa. Same will go Wednesday. That front is fairly diffuse at this point south and east of the state, but it will be cooler on Wednesday, highs likely in the 70s. But by Thursday, the warm front retreats back northward. That could spark off a shower or storm with a low pressure over southeastern Montana, and this will be the beginning of a pretty substantial heat wave. Friday, same. Hot, hazy, hot, and humid, as that front will be well to the north and the storm track will be well to the north of the state by this point. Saturday, starting the first weekend of June, you can see hazy, hot, humid. Nothing really across the country. It'll be fairly quiet across the country. So we head off to a week from today. Ridge over the southern 3/4 of the country, centered somewhere in about Kentucky or Tennessee. A big, huge trough digs in the southwest. And across the country, there's no storm systems, just some typical summertime popcorn showers and thunderstorms that will be popping up in the heat of the day in the afternoon. We head off onto Voodoo Country. Here's June the 8th. You can see a trough over the western part of the country. The ridge is shifting off to the southeast. The surface, a front may try to squeeze in here. That could spark off a shower or a storm at that time. And at the end of the forecast period on June the 13th, you can see the trough over the western part of the country. A vortex over the western Great Lakes states. At the surface, you can see a cold front trying to squeeze in here, and a tropical system making landfall on the Gulf Coast. We'll see if that holds out, but likely it's not going to. Thank you for tuning in to the weather forecast video. We'll have another one tomorrow.